My oh my. And the expose, was about, for those maybe who did not watch that documentary, rather investigative piece, both on YouTube, and there was a different version on BBC podcasts, in any podcast platform that actually went into more detail. It had 9 episodes. So that one was much deeper than the 3 episodes that were on YouTube. So just basically, this was, he's a very popular, evangelist from Nigeria with international fame. And he traveled the world a lot, but there were issues that were brought up about him in this investigative piece. Now, I just want to make sure everybody in this panel had a chance to...
I watched it,
to watch. Mike, maybe let's start with you.
I didn't watch it.
I only watched one episode.
You only watched one episode. First of all, before you go to Mike, why did you only watch one episode? What was it? What were your feelings about that first episode, and what made you not to move to the second episode?
Okay, so several things. Number one, it's January, we're closing end of year, so I come home, I'm tired.
Wait, January closing end of year or December?
You understand?
We're in January.
You're closing 23.
We're closing 2023.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
this is finance speak, account one.
It happens in January.
Sure.
So it's been a busy month. Actually, I'm working tomorrow. If I don't finish that, I need to work Sunday because Monday I have a presentation to do that I need to finish. So it's been a busy month to begin with.
Excuses.
Two, for the entire pandemic, I have spent a ton of time listening to, from 2020 to now, I've listened to so much content around cult, like what TB Joshua was doing. I don't call it content, but different
content.
Stories, experiences, let me call them experiences from different. So there's the biggest one. This was actually run by Christian Today. Christian Today is the premier Christian news platform for Christian news, right, in the US. So they had one about this mega church in Seattle run by Mark Drischel, if you guys know about that. So I spent a ton of time listening to that. There's another one in California. There's another one in the South, which is listen, this is just so I think by the time I'm moving, and then Shakahola last year, it was more it kind of rings I've had this before, I'd had this before, right? And it's funny, every time I start listening, whatever different location it is, there's a ton of similarities.
Okay.
And I think it being in Africa hits home a bit more for me. And I'm I know people are actually going through that.
Okay. And now
in Kenya.
Yeah.
So I'm I not distance more, but more I get it, but I'm already too tired from work to keep picking up this emotional.
So that's what stopped you from going to episode 2. That's what stopped me.
It was just I actually know people today who attend churches like that.
Okay. Yeah. Now, you also said, and this we're going to get back to later, but you also said that most people are a step away.
One step away.
From being a cult member.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about that, what you mean.
Yeah. But let me say what I mean by that.
Mm-hmm. No, we're going to talk about that. So I don't want you to spill everything.
Okay.
But, I want to go to Mike. But remember, we're going to talk about, you said, most people. An overwhelming majority of the people are one step away
from being in a cult. Yeah.
Okay, you're going to talk to us about that. Mike, what was your experience? You watched all
I watched the 3 episodes.
Yeah.
But I know religion is a very sensitive subject. But also it reinforced for me how I think we as Africans have been hoodwinked when it comes to Christianity. And the form of Christianity in this case with what TB Joshua did. And if you watch it, I mean, it's very disturbing. and how religion has been used, to enrich some people. How religion, in this particular case, when I say religion, let me talk about. Am I gonna call them Pentecostal or the Seventies? Because Pentecostal.
Okay.
So Pentecostal, the Pentecostal form of whatever branch of this particular career.
Is that a branch of like Protestant Christianity or?
It's Protestant. It's a branch. Like
It's a branch of
so
it.
ni wale wa Pentecostal or Holy Ghost fire, speaking
Okay.
in tongues.
Okay.
Those guys. And these are the same guys who I think majority of the message is along the lines of prosperity.
Yeah.
Prosperity gospel, tithing, give, if you're gonna, if in order to speak to the prophet, there's also, assignment of, prophet, foretelling, deacon, prophetess, whatever. And if you want to speak to the prophet, pay 1,000 shillings or $1,000 or whatever, bless the, it has that one. And I think, and I can sometimes see it like even within my own family when I look at family, how like there's certain, it's like you become blinded, maybe like what Ruth was talking about, maybe one step away, but there's certain things you don't see, like you're supposed to be able to see, first feed your family, but don't give all the money that you have and then you're left with nothing. If you look at Profit War, how all of a sudden there's a standstill in the season of Nairobi because
When
the guy
he went to a clothing store.
yeah, you're like, yo, my man, okay. But again, that's just me, and I fear.
Okay.
TB
All right.
Joshua.
Good. So we're gonna come to Mika real quick and then to Omosh regarding this. But before we go there, a couple of comments have already come in. Like Ruth, please read the few comments that are coming in so far.
Okay. So let me tell you mine. After 2 days, I finally finished the documentary. Pablo, I personally did not watch it. I just heard about it and I was like not surprised. Same script, different cast, 100%. I identify with that. Slay agrees with Pablo. This is so true. It was a lot. Kaiser says, be careful, they may come for you.
I
Pablo,
think that was too no.
Question for Ali. What do you to watch the expose?
I'll say that after you finish reading the comments.
Yeah, and then Slay plant a seed. It's
310 Kanyari, 310.
Yeah.
Yes.
Slay,
Pastangana.
you told not to question anything and how you are problematic if you do not believe or follow the teachings of.
Okay.
Pastor.
So I think, like a very good question Pablo is asking, and I think I can have 100 reasons why, I had to watch this documentary from when the trailer was released. And BBC is very good at even building this trailer and capturing. It's very difficult to capture my attention because I'm a big, content, viewer or listener. So BBC has some of the most powerful teasers. So I was like, okay, this one I must watch. But part of the reason why I watched it is, just a basic reason is that anything that goes viral, because of the space that we're in, I will watch it. Not necessarily for knowledge value or enhancement, but also to understand what most people are listening to, because this thing went viral. So you have to understand, for you to be able to talk to people about certain things, you first of all have to know, what are most people out there listening to? What's a community? And that's the reason why, I will sit watch, bad content that I would typically not just search for and watch, but just because that's what a lot of people are watching and it's having influence on what the people are seeing. So this was just one of those. The other thing is that BBC does very interesting documentaries. I actually watch all their documentaries that they do, on Africa. The one issue I have with BBC is that, I mean, the documentaries, I'm not going to say they're non-factual. Some of them, like the one they did on that private investigator in Kenya. I can't remember her name. Yeah, that one was a disaster by BBC standards.
Jane somebody or something.
That one was a disaster. But most of the ones they did, like on children being bought and sold, like newborns being bought and sold in Kenya, like that's something that's been happening and actually had been reported before on Kenyan media. So these are documentaries I watch, and I'm also like a self how do I put it, ndo watu wasiseme tuonyeshe credentials zako, like I'm also a self-taught historian. I love history, I love religious history, and when I talk about religious history, I just don't mean the religion that I practice, which is Islam. I'm talking about Christianity, I'm talking about Judaism, like the major faiths of the world.
Yes.
Yeah, the major faiths of the world. Like I like, I like understanding, like where things started from and how things got to where they are, because it gives you a very fresh perspective.
Yeah.
And I think, like all places of worship should be teaching history classes. Like I mean, I know this is very controversial, but I think they should be teaching history classes to make people understand certain things. So on this cult issue, TB Joshua, I'd heard the name before. I did not know how big he was. Like, of course, it's a name that I'd come across before. I just didn't know how big he was. So I wanted to listen to know, like what people are listening, and also to deconstruct BBC. But this was one of those documentaries that I was not able to deconstruct them, because the kind of overwhelming evidence that they presented was just a bit too much.